So many people get so wrapped up in was there a study on this and not enough of their own individual research with what they're putting into their body. But why don't we do those same things with the medication that we're given?
I don't know where that comes from. I don't know why it's like that. I see it all of the time. People turn into a scientist over lemon balm, but have no idea what they are eating.
Welcome to another episode of the Holistic Sister Circle. Today we have Cameron and Dr. Alicia here with us, and we're super excited to talk about Western medicine versus holistic healers. So this debate is going to be a little bit different than normal. One of the things that we're going to do is I'm going to ask a few questions. With those questions, you all are going to state your claim. You are more than welcome to rebuttal. You're more than welcome to not like what anyone says, that's totally fine. But the goal here is to get to a happy medium because at the end of the day, who knows? Maybe you'll decide for yourself that you lean toward one side or the other, or may you decide that there's a happy blend and both are needed. But either way, we're here to answer the questions. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. So our first question is healing best achieved through evidence-based Western medicine or holistic natural practices?
So the first thing that comes to my mind is, healing of what, right? These things are pretty complex. If you're healing from, stage 4 cancer that is spreading quickly, I think that it is times like this where, if you only have a couple of months to live, Western medicine has some modalities and technologies that could help a lot of people. But if you're healing from, let's say, a chronic illness like Crohn's or diabetes, I believe wholeheartedly that the only way to heal from something like Crohn's is consistently eating real food and working with what I call real medicine.
It's funny that you mentioned cancer because one of my first experiences that really solidified my belief in naturopathic medicine and holistic medicine was with cervical cancer, where I was treated for 6 months alongside an ND and an MD to cure the cancer. And I was able to have children, a whole bunch of other stuff through diet change, herbs, and holistic internal treatments. I also have seen many people with cancer over the years actually suffer so much from all of the treatments from the Western world and go to Mexico or other countries where they deep dive into holistic healing and actually reverse some of those inoperable, can't do it cancers. So it's cool that you mentioned that. I also believe that there is a great thing for surgery, and I just want to put that out there. I think that surgery is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I have needed it.
Yeah.
And you know what? One of the things that I like that you both mentioned is there's no right or wrong, right? And I want to make that clear here too, because there are going to be situations and times where you're actually going to need to go to a doctor versus times where you're actually going to need a holistic healer. And there's times where you need a combination of both. And I even know in my own experience, one of the reasons I started the podcast in the first place was because I wasn't getting the answers that I was looking for. And if that person that I was talking to, those multiple doctors that I was talking to at that time, if they had an understanding of holistic nutrition or what that process looks like, not just from a nutrition standpoint, but also mental health and emotional health and well-being and physical health. Um, maybe I would have stayed. I don't know. But I think it is important that regardless of where you see yourself and what's happening in your life, that you're open to not just one side of things, but you're open to see what's going to make the most sense for you. Because there are also people too that have gone that route, like you were saying, Lisha, where they go to Mexico. And there are also people, yes, that have lived, but there's also people that have died. Mm-hmm. So, we don't want to force people to say, oh, if you do this, you're going to live like we have no idea. But what we do know is these are the things and these are the resources that you have in place. So leverage them, use them, and be open to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people have definitely died from cancer from no matter what they've done. Like, it's a hard one.
Okay, next question. How do these two approaches complement or conflict with each other in treating illness? This is a good one. And those, if you're watching live, you're more than welcome to ask questions in the chat as well. But how do these two approaches complement or conflict with each other in treating illness?
So, yeah, I like how you had mentioned, that if that system had talked about um, emotions, just everything involved with holistic healing, it might have been differently. And from my experience in this field, I have worked with people. I go back to Crohn's a lot because I do a lot of work with that, and I had it myself as well. And there are doctors that after the chemo would tell the patient to go eat fried chicken or to go get a hamburger or eat whatever it is craving. And I think that the lack of knowledge of nutrition and food and what the body, because bottom line, the body was designed in a certain way to function in a certain way and require certain nutrients in order to do so. So I think that that's one of the I would say walls that that system can hit is if it did bring in good food, it could help with the chemo, or at least because the chemo is zapping the body, right? So let's try to replenish all of that, those nutrients as quickly as possible. Um, and then for the people who do choose to go that route, I think that these two modalities could complement each other by, okay, this drug that our body does not recognize that comes with consequences, whether it's even just damage to the liver and the kidneys, just as one, but most of them carry many, many side effects. What food, what herbs, what breath work modalities, what else can be combined with this to reduce the damage done to the body from that pharmaceutical?
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I think for me, as I've aged, like different things have come up, right? Like I remember thinking I was giving birth to the world one time, laying on the couch just in so much pain, like literally thinking something was gonna be like birthed out of me. I was going crazy, and it was my appendix, right? It was my appendix. And if I had been like, oh, I'm never gonna do anything but holistic medicine, I might have laid there and thought that, and like had hands-on healing and prayer work and like all that stuff done, which I love and I believe in. But eventually it was like, no, I think we need to go to the hospital, right? And they're like, I think that you need this removed. And after that, I felt great. On a holistic note, though, something that I really think about, I work with trauma a lot with my clients, and I work with identity. So that's what I do. And I train coaches and help people write their stories and embody their truth, right? Their passion. And I think on an organic or organ, not organic, but organ, organ conversation, like things need to be taken out and or we need support in a different organ, like your guts for Crohn's, and I've celiac, so I understand that struggle a little bit, a different view, but a little bit. And we have to remember that those are emotions, right? That the body keeps a score. And, I needed my, not my gallbladder, I needed my appendix out. And appendix was, I think it was sadness, and the liver is anger, right? And the guts is self-trust, and the uterus is creation, right? And the lungs is life and chi. So when we learn that, and we can look at, well, what's wrong with what's going on with our bodies, then that's great. Another thing that really comes to mind when it comes to getting over a trauma, sometimes the organ that has just absorbed that trauma so much, it's, our physical bodies are physical, they're going to break down, they're going to decompose. It decomposes enough that it just fails, and we get to take it out. But once you take it out, you're like, oh, I don't have that anger problem, or I don't have problem creating things anymore. I don't have that sadness that I had. That emotion, that frequency, that energy that it was holding leaves with it. And I think watching my clients and experiencing myself sometimes from doing all the holistic work and everything in the background, when we're ready to move from that, if the organ has held too much of it, it fails. And we either have to regenerate it, and Western medicine can help with that, or have it removed.
Something that I think I would like to see more from that system is, okay, we have to take the appendix out, but why? What lifestyle choices, what food, what habits contributed to this problem? Because just having the appendix removed doesn't get to the root, it's just eliminating the symptom.
Yeah. And I think that emotions a lot of times are those symptoms when it comes to trauma, right? It's not always what you're eating, or even what you're doing habitually.
So my question to you would be, so like, let's say it was the appendix and they removed it. Does that mean to you that they have now removed that emotion, that now that that organ is gone, that emotion that obviously wasn't processed,
No.
that emotion that wasn't processed, where's the line there? Like, is it gone now, or is there still some work, or is that emotion that wasn't processed just going to manifest in a different organ now?
That is where the holistic piece and the medicine piece can really come together, because it happens in two ways. I found just watching people in my sphere heal from trauma. One, the organ presents itself as like, okay, now I'm ready to regenerate, right? And you can begin healing it through nutrition or through some way, and it presents that as you heal and clear the emotion and actually do regulate the emotion, actually do heal the stuff. Or the organ goes, I'm out. And in my case, I think with my appendix, the emotion was like, I'm out. You've done this. I felt really complete in that healing. And I was just grateful for my appendix to hold all of that. And I was grateful that it got out and it hasn't gone to another organ. But if you haven't processed it, right? If you haven't processed that emotion, if you haven't done that internal work, whether it's emotionally, mentally, or habits and food, if you haven't done those changes, it just, some other organ, some other part of you picks up those issues in your tissues.
Issues in your tissues.
You know, and I will say to this too, to your point, one of the things that I have learned over these years and just learning more about holistic approaches and how to understand the body a little bit better is sometimes the things, the emotions, and the trauma that you're feeling or that you're experiencing, sometimes it's not even yours. Sometimes it's something that's passed down from, maybe your mother's lineage or your father's lineage or generations before you that never healed from that, or they experienced it and now you're the one that actually has to go bring it to the forefront to open those wounds back up, to now remove them so you can continue on in your journey. And I share this because I remember my first time working with a holistic practitioner. I remember she put this metal rod in my hand and we did an entire body scan of, what was going on with the body through this metal rod, biometric feedback. And then after that, we did a body balance. And with this body balance, she used muscle testing to have a better understanding of what emotions were triggering the side effects that my body was going through at that time. And I will tell you, if you are someone who like thinks this is weird, I did. I was like, what is this? What are we doing? Why am I holding this? Why are you playing with your fingers? Like it was a very weird thing. But I was also desperate because I wasn't getting the answers that I was looking for. And I was open. I was open to, understanding and learning. And through those experiences, not only did it help me understand my body better, but it also helped me understand what I needed to do to be more aware of the problems, the circumstances, the environments I put myself in, and why protecting your peace is so important, and why people's energies is not, even if someone is working with you or, connecting with you, not every energy is good energy. And we are, a compilation of patterns and habits and energy. So I think it's really important that we're talking about this because, yes, it still plays a role, but it can also move through other parts of the body, or just by removing it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's gone, especially if it's triggered from a past experience or a past life that you didn't even know existed. So I find that interesting. Okay, moving on. What role what role does culture and tradition play in shaping how we view medicine and healing? I feel like this is good because it kind of ties into what I was just saying.
This is a fantastic question. I think here in the United States, for the last few generations, the Western medicine model has been, I mean, with children, they have baby Tylenols, they have these pills for toddlers, for infants, these medicines for infants. That it's just, I think it is part of the culture here. Like, oh, you have a fever here, take this, get rid of the fever. Oh, you have a stomach ache here, take this. Whereas in other cultures, I've been to Colombia and Mexico, so those are the only ones I really want to speak to since I've been there. But they live with the land, on the land. They have relationships with the land that have been passed down for generations and generations. So I think that plays a big part in the way that we think. When we felt ill, did our mother brew a tea for us, put some plants on us, or did she pop open a bottle and give us a pill?
Yeah. I was raised by a mother that threw some herbs on me and did body work and like did that, and a father that was very much behind that, and natural living and living with the land and talking to spirit and past lives and ancestors and all of that stuff from a Native American culture. And he raised me, he adopted me. So that said, I was raised in a place where looking at Western medicine was actually really scary for me. I wasn't vaccinated until I tried to go up with people. And the moment I was vaccinated is when I was diagnosed with cancer at 21. So, and how I got cancer was the Norplant or Nixpro arm thing, the stuff in there. And that cancer actually went into my best friend as Hodgkin's, and Hope died from lymphoma, Hodgkin's disease. And so that said, I had like a really sour taste in my mouth for Western medicine and popping pills, and I liked herbs and chiropractic work, and I still do. But then later in life, I tore my meniscus. I was teaching yoga like 8 hours a day, and I was going down into these postures, and I tore my meniscus, either in yoga or in a step aerobics class, one or the other I was teaching. So I was really into fitness, really into eating right, really like knowing all of that. And there was nothing I could do. And when I got surgery, thank goodness. And I was coming off of it, and I had suffered from CPTSD, and I was on the pain meds for, the day after surgery or whatever. And I could think straight. And that was the first time I was like, maybe there's something to this. And I spoke to my aunt, and she said, you know what? Like, she went, well, I won't tell you what she was on because I don't have her permission, but she went on something, and she said, it's just to help you see the tunnel, right? They want you to get addicted to it. They want you to use it like popping the pill and like it's normal. And people really feel that way, right? Which attacks our body and breaks down our other organs. And I personally disagree with. But for that speck of time where I went on Lexapro, and I just needed I needed to see the light of the tunnel. I needed to feel what it would feel like to not have that constant battle with CPTSD. And it gave me that. And I, somewhere inside of me, incorporated that into my meditation practice, into my yoga practice, into my holistic living, and quickly got off it. I think I was on it for like 3 months, but it just gave me that vibration, right? That energy, that awareness, like, oh, this is how it's supposed to feel like. And I think pain meds can do the same, but then we have the opioid tragedy and everything that happens, and the SSRIs, which are causing a huge uproar, and like there's side effects. And then there's the vaccines, right? That come from that. And this whole genre of Western medicine. So I think that if we married the two, it'd be really good. But Western medicine, in my view, tends to be very anti-holistic medicine and there's energy, where holistic medicine, there's purists for sure. But I think that we're more open to the gifts that Western medicine can provide, and those tunnels.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, because when I think about this too, one of the things that has really come up for me as well is, okay, when you talked about your aunt and you talked about your mom and your dad, and obviously all of them had a role to play in how you grew up and how you decided to move in your life through your health journey. And I will say for me, it was the complete opposite. Like, oh, you're sick? Like, we're going to the doctor. We're going to the doctor for everything. And we always had a medicine cabinet full of whatever we needed. And one of the things I appreciated about my mother was she always understood the assignment as, I don't know what this is, but I know that we have people that we can go to if you need help. For me, the issue became a tragedy when those very people that I thought I could continue to depend on, they could no longer help. And that's where it gets a bit frustrating, because my tradition and my belief at that time was just go to the doctor. So that's what I did for everything. I went to the doctor. I, tried the thing. I had the conversations. And I think this is why it's so important to not just solely focus on how things have been done from a parental perspective, but also really focus on, okay, if you're taking a deep breath, and if you're actually listening to your body and you're also listening to your spirit, what is it saying to you? What move is it asking you to make? Did you actually pray through that conversation or pray through that instance? Because I've also had instances where I remember I went through a miscarriage, and through that journey, I was told, oh, you need to go ahead and get oh my gosh, what is it called when they extract the fetus or material? A D&C. Okay. They're like, you need to get a D&C. And I said, okay. I was very nervous about it because it was already a lot dealing with that. And now you're telling me I have to come back. You have to open me up. You have to extract it. Like, my body just already went through so much. And I just don't know if I want to put my body through that again, that type of pain. So anytime I have a situation where I'm unsure, I do not take action. I stand still in it, because maybe there's something here. Maybe there's something I needed to do differently. And I took a moment, I prayed about it. And then the next day I said, you know what? I'm going to schedule it and just see what happens. And believe it or not, every time I scheduled it, it either kept getting pushed back or it moved, like it just kept getting moved. And I remember having a conversation with my mom, and she's like, you need to get this D&C. You need to get this stuff out of you, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I hear you. Thank you for letting me know how you feel about this. And I appreciate that. What my body is telling me right now is it doesn't want to go through all of that right now. What it actually wants to do is it wants to remove any excess naturally. So I'm going to do that. And I remember the date of my D&C, after it kept getting pushed back, I was still very nervous about it. For whatever reason, they weren't able to get a hold of my insurance. The doctor came out and she said, "You look fine. How are you feeling? And do you actually want to have this surgery?" And I said, "You know what? I really don't. And all of these signs that have been happening have just been confirmation that I just need to listen and stop trying to force something that doesn't need to be." And she said, "Well, you know what? Let me at least check your vitals. I'll call you tomorrow and we'll go from there." I said, "Okay." She called me the next day. She said, "Everything has been removed. You're fine." And the reason I share that is because we can get so wrapped up into tradition, into, how people have made a way for us, whether it's family, whether it's friends. And we can get so bottled down with like how other people believe that we need to be living our lives or need to be experiencing things. And that doesn't do anything but put fear in us, makes us indecisive, makes us not trust the process of whatever process we were supposed to go through at that time. So I love that you shared that because I think it's important for anyone who's listening. At the end of the day, your body, I promise you, it will not steer you wrong. These are all warning signs. And these warning signs are allowing you to now have the roadmap to get to your North Star, to figure out why you're on this trajectory of finding out a new version of yourself or a new revelation. So that's what I would have to say about it. Okay. Can holistic practices be trusted without clinical trials? Or are personal experiences enough proof?
I think the fact that our species has gotten this far speaks to how powerful plants and food and holistic modalities are. Um, I also always like to bring awareness to like, because people, well, I did my research and it said this herb can do this. So I say, hey, share your research with me, please. Because most people don't know how to read research. And then you find out that they're giving these concentrated, extracted doses in large amounts to these tiny little rats. And situations like that. So I think that yeah, absolutely. I think there's just so much, and whether it's anecdotal evidence or what, that speaks to the power of food and plants.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, they call it holistic or, you know, a different medicine, but it's really like the original medicine. It's been around forever. And yeah, maybe there's not as much academic research done around it, right? Because it wasn't man-made and it was life-made. But I think if you do more historic research around some things, you're going to find the evidence that you need. And I really feel like one of the big things that happens, and Valeria, you brought it up, that I think is just beautiful, is we need to get to learn how to listen to our bodies. And the problem with a lot of people, if they went through childhood trauma, right? 3 and 4 of us. And that trauma separates our soul essence from our physical body, and the ego of the physical body and the how to do things and listening to everybody outside of yourself comes in to kind of save the day. But you feel like you're energetically, you're hanging on by a thread. So you don't have that life force to move through you. So creating an environment where you like your body, where you feel comfortable with your body, where you're taking care of your body. And when I say you, I mean your divine essence, your soul essence is taking care of your body. And you're looking at yourself like, this is my vessel to take care of, right? It's not its fault that it's going through whatever it's going through, right? Whether it has Crohn's or has a miscarriage or has everything that I've gotten to go through in my life, right? It's not like, it's mine to figure out how do I best take care of my body in the state that it's in. And I think when people shift to this way, whether it's mental or physical or an emotional illness, then their environment can change too, right? They start attracting something new, but then they can listen to their body. I don't think a lot of people know how to listen to their body. I think that's something that we can really learn to do. And the fact that your parents or you taught you how to listen to your body and how to trust your body and not think that it's against you is huge.
I would also like to speak to the fact that, especially like with the people who are doing these clinical studies and these clinical trials, how much profit is there for them to make? And I think that's always something to think about because there are people out there, and most of, I know for myself, I am, but my target demographics aren't the people who are already living holistically and have it all figured out and are doing healthy. I'm here to reach the people who aren't and who are sick and want to get better. But a lot of people in that world, they've been brought up to the clinical studies and just this system set in place. And so I'm really big on encouraging people to ask questions. Okay, again, how was the study done? Does that make sense? Can I relate that study to a human, let alone my own body? Who conducted the studies? How much money are they making off of it, off of this drug or whatever it is that they are creating? And I also believe that's one of the reasons why, holistic healing, there are ways to make a bunch of money off of it. I don't think that those ways have a lot of integrity. I'm watching like integrative medicine come up now, and I work with a lot of people, and I've heard it over and over again. These people go and they spend thousands of dollars on these integrative medicine practitioners, and they are paying a ridiculous amount of money every month for these fancy supplements. So don't get me wrong, there is a way to profit on that as well, but it's a lot harder to off of plants. You can't patent plants, but you can isolate the constituents and concentrate it down and create a drug. And now only this company or this person can profit off of that. So I always like to plant that seed and get that out there. It's unfortunate the Western medical system, if you look into the history, like Leisha was saying, like study history of what we know as traditional Western medicine was there's so much greed involved in it. There's so much control and so much money to be made. And so in fact that, in the early 1900s, even 1800s, like whole propaganda campaigns put out to have people lose trust in the people that used herbs and nature to help the bodies to heal. They didn't even teach they have just now started to teach nutrition in depth in these colleges and the institutions that are training doctors. So yeah, I always like to plant that seed because it's true.
Yeah. I want to add one more thing to that and really ask you a question, Cameron, if I could. But what's the take right now on like Monsanto and GMOs and like how they're shifting the food? And then we also grew up we grew up with a greenie mom, so we didn't go to McDonald's and stuff like that. And then I have celiac, so I can't, right? Thank God I didn't. I'd been really sick growing up. But what's your take on that and culture and how the research done on that, right? Or lack of research done on that as far as the holistic field?
So I'm really, really vocal about the way that we are being poisoned as a nation. I have big stickers on my truck. I pass them out for free as we, the people, are being poisoned, and we are, from our air to our water to our food. And it is unfortunate that, I don't even know that anything is quote unquote organic anymore because of the wind. And then when these pesticides are sprayed, the wind carries it on. And at the same time, so sorry about.
It's okay. My dog's just going to answer.
And at the same time, I also don't believe that it serves us to live in fear that everything that we are eating is poisoned. I believe so much in the power of our bodies, and I'm a woman of God, and I know that plays a role in it as well. So really, I don't How I practice is harm reduction, right? Like do your best to get organic food when you can. But I also work with a lot of low income communities that can't necessarily afford that. So I believe in the power of prayer. Pray over your food. I believe that inorganic fruits and vegetables still carry more nutritious value than McDonald's or Burger King or any of the packaged stuff that you're going to get in the grocery store. But if you eat the food with fear, thinking that it's poisoning you, it's not going to be as nourishing as it could. It is there's we have so only have so much control over it. Like even with the water, I have drank out of a Brita water filter for many years because the work that I do, I can't really afford to get a $5,000 Kangen machine. And I was recently blessed with the RO system that remineralizes the water, and that's great. But for years, mind you, healing myself from Crohn's, healing myself from endometriosis, learning how to live with severe CPTSD, all with a Brita water filter. And I did put, I would write love on it and these positive affirmations and sacred stickers and stuff like that, because it is true that our thoughts and intentions can shape the water. Um, but yeah, it is happening. It's good to be aware of it, but not to allow it to consume you. And just removing as I think that people would be better off getting rid of their air fresheners and laundry detergents than worrying about their organic produce, to be honest.
Wow. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you know something, Cameron, one of the things that you had mentioned that I think is very important for those who are listening as well, especially if you are someone who may be going through an illness or your body's breaking down or you're not sure what's wrong with you. And you're one of those who are like, okay, I'm just going to read, you know, I'm going to read the data, the clinical research or whatever, right? My question for you is, with reading that clinical research, do you also do that type of reading with the food that you eat? Right? I think so many people get so wrapped up in, oh, what does the clinical research say, or was there a study on this, and not enough of their own individual research with what they're putting into their bodies. Because you could literally turn over a bag of chips and it tells you exactly what's in it. And if you don't know what it is, you can research it and then you can decide for yourself if you're going to use that or not. But why don't we do those same things with the medication that we're given? Right? I'm not saying not to take it because I don't know your situation, but if you're going to be very gun-ho of making sure that you have clinical research, just make sure you're doing that due diligence with everything in your house. Make sure you're doing that due diligence with all of your clothes.
That is something I deal with on a daily basis. Even
that's crazy.
Today, I have a woman and I love her so much. She's doing great, but it takes a lot of Tylenol, a lot of Benadryl, and it's really affecting the body poorly. And I gave her a nettles tincture, and she wants to skin test, put it on the skin, and make sure that there's not going to be, which is great. Do that. But I did ask, did you skin test the Benadryl? Did you skin test the Tylenol? Do you rub these things on your body first before taking them? And that's why I don't know where that comes from. I don't know why it's like that. I see it all of the time. People turn into a scientist over lemon balm, but have no idea what they are eating. And I don't understand it. I don't really have an answer for it.
Well, a lot of it, again, it goes back to what Lisha was saying earlier in a previous conversation, was tradition and how they were brought up and how they were raised. And she also mentioned too that if you always have these inside or outside, or not even inside, outside voices that are telling you what to do and how to do it and how to perform, and yeah, you're going outside to get answers and have these conversations, you're no longer tuning in and you're no longer having that spiritual connection with God. Because at the end of the day, like, he's going to tell you what's going on with your body and how you need to move in that sense. And if you're not doing those things, then I mean, it's very natural for that to continue to be the case. And because of how social media is right now, because of how, maybe her feed, I don't know if she's on social media, she may be uh in a different demographic as well. And I mean by demographic, I mean age, right? Our parents or even grandparents thought a little bit differently than how we think when it comes to these things too, because McDonald's, I would say McDonald's probably, I don't know how long it's been here, but I'm pretty sure McDonald's years and years and years and years ago was probably a lot better than what it is today. And that's just call it what it is. It has more in it, right? I'm pretty sure at that time it was just potatoes and salt and
Yep.
it was fine. And now it's completely different. And I think it's just important that, for what you're saying too, Cameron, is they do understand how to listen to the body so they can make these decisions based on what their body is saying and not based on what these outsiders are saying, including us. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't, and this is not to discredit you, but what it is to say is, okay, if she has to do all of that to even listen to what it is that you're saying, just think about what she has to do with listening to herself. She probably doesn't listen to herself at all, or anything that has to do with her outside of other people. So I think one of the things that would be very interesting to even know for both of you all too is like, how do you do that? How do you listen to your body? How do you, for people who are listening that don't even know where to start with that, what does that actually look like?
I'm so glad that you asked that question, because I think about this a lot, even like with muscle testing. I've studied muscle testing and I understand the concept, but sometimes I get a little hung up because can people trust their bodies right away when they're inflamed, when they're loaded with toxins, when their endocrine system is disrupted, when it's sending off bad signals or mixed signals or improper signals? And so that, if somebody is really enmeshed in that poison, I know I wouldn't ask them, well, just listen to your body. Their body's inflamed. It hurts. They don't know, they're confused. And so my suggestion that I really talk about this a lot, like for example, like our body is give or take around 70% water. But if all we drink is high fructose corn syrup or all we drink is soda, then our body is roughly 70% high fructose corn syrup. Theoretically speaking, what we put in is what is being created. I think, people aren't able to think clearly or see clearly because they're dehydrated and the literal physical organ of their brain can't function properly because it's dehydrated and malnourished. So I think for every single person, the first thing to do is start drinking water and just get rid of the soda, get rid of the sports drinks, get rid of all of that and drink water. And that's a great place to start. As time goes on, you start drinking structured water or fruits or putting salt in it to actually be hydrated. But just start drinking water and start eating real food. And I'm really big on let's add things before we take it away, because a lot of people were born and bred in this system and radical change is not sustainable. But okay, can you just commit to putting a bowl of berries into your morning routine every single day? Can you commit to having at least one vegetable that's not a potato in your with dinner every night, and just slowly adding real food, real nourishment? And the more that they do that, they're helping their body to flush the toxins. But also, we are hydroelectric beings. We are water and electricity, and minerals are like these spark plugs that keep that conduit going. And a lot of people can't receive or tune in because of the lack of the electricity in the water. So the more that they do that and the more hydroelectric they become, the more they'll be able to not only receive the signals but also emit them. That's what I think.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So I'm going to flip it just a bit. And instead of like trusting your body, yes, when it's inflamed or in chaos and toxic patterns of any kind, mentally, physically, emotionally, dealing with struggle and survival and that cortisol stress, right? I know I was going through that this year, just moving 5,000 miles away, right, from where I was before. And so what if it's not your body that's supposed to take care of you? What if we did have it all flipped up? What if we're actually spiritual beings, souls, having an embodiment experience here, having a human experience here? And what if it's about beginning to look at yourself as, how can I take care of this vessel that's inflamed, that's acting out, that I can't trust at the moment, that hasn't been able to trust me because I've been putting all of my trust in it? So one thing that I do, I lead them free. There's also at yourownuniversity.com, there's tons of stuff in there. The Unstoppable Confidence club, basically, I have, where we do safe, secure, and successful. And it is a meditative experience that kind of lets you just sit and be like, okay, where is my body? Oh, it's inflamed. My knee hurts. Oh, something's happening there. On my chest hurt, right? Like, so you can just sit. And then we sit with the mind, because they're actually separate units. We sit with your mind. Like, what is your brain doing today? How do you feel? Can you think, right? Are you stuck in survival? Are you stuck in the past? What is your visions? Like, you look at you, right? Nobody else can look at you but you. And then we look at the emotional body, which is actually your connective tissue and your skin. So we look at the connective tissue, we feel through that connective tissue. What are you holding? Where are you holding it? What can your body and mind tell you about what your emotion, what you're emoting, your frequency? And then we look at your vibe, your vibration, because your actions plus your thoughts plus your frequency create your vibration. And that's when people's lives change. That's when the trauma patterns change. And I train people in this in our holistic coaching certification training and in our yoga teacher training at your own university, because it's about knowing yourself. So how can you trust something that you don't know? How can you trust something that you've been battling forever, or you feel like is against you, right? Is too thick or too thin or too this color or too that color, or too toxic or too ill? You can't, like Cameron was saying, right? So bringing that in, where you are now looking from this perspective of the witness, right? Or your soul, and going, how can I best take care of these elements that I was given to drive my life here on this planet to the best of my ability?
I love that. Thank you both for sharing. Definitely two different perspectives on what you could be focusing on. I would I would add one in there. And again, there's no right or wrong. My entire life I've looked at it from a black and white perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of these things started happening and I was like, where's the gray? And really, where's your faith? Because at the end of the day, that's where the gray is. And one of the things that I would say through all of this is your community. Community is going to be so important, as regardless if you're on your healing journey or you're feeling you're toxic, surrounding yourself with people that either you want to become like in their habits and their best practices, or people that you can genuinely learn from and break bread with and share information through. Because at the end of the day, in order for you to get better, it's not a one person job. And it was never meant to just be one person doing the thing. Like, it's very difficult for you to do anything in isolation by yourself with no help, with no motivation, with no one in your corner cheering you on. You're going to need to have those people in place that can hold you accountable to the goals that you've set for yourself. So it's like, yes, drink the water. Yes, like, go learn about your body and go through the yoga and go through the mind principles and remove the trauma, but also surround yourself with people that can ensure that you're being held accountable to continue on your mission or it doesn't work.
And that inspire you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, community is the name of the game, and I
Yes.
encourage people to, like, we have a community of bacteria and microorganisms inside of our body, and plants are these communities of constituents. And, that's one of the reasons why drugs cause side effects, is they have isolated this one constituent from a plant without realizing that this plant, it has so many constituents, and they're all working together as a team to produce the desired effects. And when you take that constituent away from its family community of constituents, it starts to behave differently, and honestly often with more consequences. We can view ourselves as that, like, we are one part of a big community, and when we all work together, we don't get side effects, we get side benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, thank you both. To wrap us up, I have one last question. And then after this question, I would love for you all to just share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how everyone can connect with you further. Our last question is, we've talked about a lot today, but what can both sides learn from one another to create a more integrated path to wellness?
Oh, that's a great question. I think questions in general, with both sides, having like a list of questions that we can ask when we're weighing, okay, what are the benefits? What are the risks? How will this affect my body? Are there studies? What evidence is there? Um, I almost lean to the purist side. I'm not all the way there, but there is a big part of me that's like, if you want true sustained vitality, the only way to do that for this physical body that we have is to give it what it needs to thrive, which is nutrients, vitamins, minerals, sunlight, movement. Um, and I don't know how to bring that in to that side really. So I'm excited to hear what Leisha says. And but also just I think a mutual respect would be awesome. If I break my arm or something tragic happens, I want the best of the best surgeon. If it is excruciating pain, don't give me skull cap. Okay, give me morphine. Like, thank goodness for that. And then this side, hey, when it comes to sustaining vitality, there's really something to it here. So
That's pretty much what I was gonna say right there. Is like there's a place for both, right? And I think that both sides, if we could be able to recommend, right, go and get that prescription or surgery or support in this realm, because you've tried the herbs, or you've tried the diet, or you've tried the fitness. For me, like, I've been a fitness and nutritionalist and holistic mental health helper for forever, for my entire life. I've done nothing else. But I will tell you, like, this morning I put on an estrogen patch because I've spent the last year and a half like dealing with the extra weight gain and the joint pain and all this stuff. And I'm taking all the herbs and I'm doing everything that I could. And I don't want to go work out because it hurts. It's getting better. But I was like, okay, maybe a little bit of estrogen won't hurt, right? I'm gonna go there. And being able to talk to people that were like, okay, have you tried this herb? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? How are you feeling on that? Has that changed anything? No. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper, right? We have this synthetic, or we have this over here that you can try. Same with pain meds. And I really feel like, and this is just me, it's my opinion, but the lab rats, we need to know that we're lab rats, especially for vaccines and everything, and maybe especially in the United States of America. But we need to realize that we are the lab rats and have that choice. Do we want to be a part of that study, right? Do we want to take the risks and be a part of that study? And I think on the Western side, that choice is taken away a lot from people through lack of education or lack of other means, right? Well, you could change your diet, right? You have prediabetes, you could change your diet. We could work it on this way. You could go lift some weights. You could take these herbs and possibly balance this out. Or you can go on this drug that has all these side effects. So it'll put you on another drug and another drug and another drug. And like Karen was saying, like, make it it's a moneymaker. So I think more choice and being trusting of everything we've talked about, being trusting of yourself to make that choice for yourself.
That's awesome. So we have asking the right questions, We have the freedom of choice because you can choose. And the one thing that I would just add to this to really put it all together is from the questions and the choices, you can now build your own wellness team. You can literally hire people for your family. And if you think about it that way, and not just for your family, but also for yourself, you are interviewing these people. You are trying to determine, is this the right person that needs to be part of your family's lineage? Because at the end of the day, if they're getting help, if you're getting help from them and it's successful, your family's probably going to need help too. Your friends are probably going to need help too. And by you continuously asking the right questions, focusing on the choice to choose, you can build a dream team, a wellness dream team that doesn't just benefit you today, but benefits your lineage and your ancestors because you've done the healing, you've done the work, and now you have the choice to be set free. So thank you both again. I'm just going to have you all take a moment and just share again who you are, what you do, and how we can connect with you further.
Thank you. I am Cameron Jewell. I am a holistic lifestyle advocate and medical herbalist. I help people, I provide education and resources and create spaces to help people connect to their mind, to their body, to their spirits. I'm passionate on a collective level of helping people connect to their food, to the land that they live on, and to their community. I do in-person foraging gatherings free to the public, in-person classes free to the public. I do online Q&As and classes, again, free to the public. And I work with people one-on-one over time. And I do charge for that, but I'm all about accessibility. So you get top-notch service at very, very low prices. And I don't ever want money to be a barrier for somebody to get the resources that they need. So if it is, we just have to have a conversation and we'll work that out. But yeah, with food, herbs, and lifestyle choices, I help people take responsibility and hold themselves accountable to reach sustained vitality. You can find more information at communitynourishment.org. And also on YouTube, I post a lot of the videos that we do, the online classes. And again, that'll just be Community Nourishment, communitynourishment.org, and Community Nourishment on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you.
Community nourishment. Perfect. Hi, my name is Dr. Lisha Antica, and I'm gone through a transition. I did a lot of identity, helping people find themselves after trauma, childhood trauma, and sexual trauma was actually my forte, and all my research and studies, as well as human consciousness and this holistic model of like what makes us us, right? Separate from what happened to us or our genetics or skin color or all of that stuff. Like what makes a person unique and how can we have choice in that? And what choice do we have? And so I've researched a lot of things along spirituality as well as epigenetics and quantum physics and nutrition and yoga and philosophies and mental health and psychology, and kind of combined them all into a program that I call Amazing You. And now since 2018, I've really been shifting my focus to really train other practitioners in the Amazing You methodology. So more people are helping people find themselves so they can trust themselves, so they can make the decisions that we were just talking about for themselves, right? And in that is also a nutrition component and a mindset component, an emotional component, and who we are as energetic beings, your authority component, who you are in relationship, right? And finding that, and how you live your purpose. So I train people in this holistic methodology to do that. And then at your own university, we have other free trainings for you to find yourself. Okay. And those are part of my Unstoppable Confidence community. It's absolutely free to join. We have master classes every now and again, especially when I'm introducing new courses. We have a community that is inside the club that we go through the entire Amazing You system together, called the You Matter Club. And you're more than welcome to just join, sign up, and get access to a ton of free things, and our forum at yourownuniversity.com. or lishaantica.com, my name, if that's easier for you.
Amazing. Well, thank you both so much. And until next time, we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Blair. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Karen.
Nice to meet you.